What's going on, folks? Locky Late Night, episode 22. The first in a very long time, actually. Been a long time since your boy has been on the Locky Late Night grind. Slowly start. Well, you know what? I can officially declare myself as a morning person because no longer am I waking up at 10:30, 11 a.m. I'm usually up. My wife leaves for work at 7:45. I'm up and just dilly-dallying in bed until about 8:15, 8:15. Then I get out of bed and I just do my morning routine. Even when I go to sleep late, like sometimes I'm grinding late. I'll go to sleep at like midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., but I'm still up 7, 8 o'clock. So I'm happy that I have officially turn that leaf overhead and finally become a morning person because that's something I've always wanted to do. It allows me to be way more productive. And yeah, can't complain. And I enjoy it. You know what I mean? I'm sure my dog enjoys it as well. We get to go for a walk and all that stuff and just try to be productive. I'm actually trying to look the last time that I did a Locky late night, and good God, it was a long time ago because I'm still searching. Okay, Locky late night. Episode 21 was actually the UFC 267 live weigh-in that me and Clint did. If you guys remember, 267 was like a day event, so their weigh-in was like midnight for us or something like that. And Clint had agreed to come on with me, and we went 2 hours just watching the weigh-in, so that was fun. And even before that, though, it had been a while. Even before that, so October. Yeah, Locky Late Night episode 20, August 23rd, literally the weekend that I came back, or next fucking day that I came back and from that event right there. The Apex event that I went to for Cannoneer and Gaslam. That was a sick event. So even with going to sleep late now, I feel like I can still be a morning person. So I might crank out a couple more of these Locky Late Night episodes more often than before. Because again, we have all week where I'm talking bets. I mean, I do my Lockcast, which I normally drop like Monday or Tuesday of fight week. Then I got propping you up on Thursdays. I got Ultimate Weigh-In Show on Friday, Saturday Fight Day live chat. Not to mention the IG live that I've been doing on Friday night. So I get a lot of MMA betting talk. That's something that I always get a whole lot of. And then I get my, just shooting the shit about MMA with Clint on our Deadlock podcast. Um, if you guys haven't flipped on over to the Deadlock podcast channel, make sure you guys do that. That's where we're starting to do most of our episodes now, or all of our episodes and content for that. So make sure you guys check that out every other Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And that's just me and Clint shooting the shit with a couple segments that we have built and just to have some fun about talking about MMA. But Locky Late Night for the newer subscribers and the newer joiners. It's been a while since I've been doing this, man. It's been a while since I did my last one, so I want to start doing these a little bit more. Just shooting the shit about random stuff, whether it's a specific topic. All of this is always going to be non-MMA related. So if you guys are in here hoping to, get some MMA talk out of me, I apologize, but there won't be much MMA talk. I just want to shoot the shit. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I enjoy. Shout out to everybody that's already in here. Kairos, I see you. Danny, I see you. Evan, he's going to his first ever live event at UFC 273. Any tips for going to an event or anything? Just go enjoy it. Don't expect to just watch the cage and watch the actual fighting that's going on. Sometimes you're gonna have to look up at the screen, and that's totally fine. But just enjoy the atmosphere, and also know that you're gonna have a ton of people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about sitting around you. Don't let that bother you. Killer G saying, what was the usual amount of snow days you had when in school? I'd say like twice every like grade, almost every grade year, roughly. That's about it. So yeah, I just want to get down to what this what the stream is about. So it's titled Shishpal. That is essentially the name of this episode, and that's something I started doing with the last couple of episodes, is actually giving it a name. And Shishpal is my father's name, uh, and very cultural name. Even within my culture, I don't think I've ever heard anybody with my dad's name. And the reason I titled it the way that I did, in all caps, it kind of reminded me of Donda, like what Kanye's doing with his mom, right? Because even Donda, that's quite a unique name. Like nobody really has that name. Even Kanye is kind of unique. I mean, as soon as you say Donda or Kanye, people know what you're talking about. So even with my father, when people, they would normally call him with his last name, they'd call him Jazz because it's a lot easier for the westernized world to say Jazz than Shishpal. You know what I mean? So that's why I named it that. Because if you guys follow me on Twitter, I kind of alluded to something as to why I wanted to do this. And so 15 years ago, 2007, March 9th, um, everything kind of changed for my family. I was 15 years old at the time. I'm 30 right now. So I've been alive, I've been living life for as long as I had lived life up until that moment at this point in time, if you guys know what I mean, which is kind of the surreal part and weird part. Uh, that day, I got home from school and around 4:30, my dad's normally still at work and he would call just to check in on my mom and stuff. But this time it wasn't my dad who called around that time. It was actually the police. They had told us that my father got into some sort of accident at work, and he's on his way to the closest hospital. They're gonna kind of sedate him, and then they're gonna send him over to a more specialized hospital. And we didn't know what the fuck the extent of it was. They just said he had fallen while at work, and my dad was was, I guess, a forklift operator, essentially, right? Like that's the thing with a lot of these first generation. Well, I guess I'm first generation Canadian, but the immigrant parents, right? Like they come over and work kind of shittiest jobs to try to provide for their family so that their family can go on and do bigger and better things and eventually take care of them. That's kind of the immigrant mentality, right? Some parents are lucky enough to have been educated back in India, and then when they came here they were able to translate it into something that wasn't factory work, something that wasn't a manual labor type of job. But that's how my dad kind of knew, like even back when he was living in India. I'm pretty sure they had a farm of some sort. They were very manual labor oriented. um so yeah, my dad was working a forklift job, and yeah, so we get the phone call, and they told us to go to the specialized hospital, because if you go to the local one, then well, we're not even going to catch them. They're going to airlift him from there to Sunnybrook. Sunnybrook is the hospital. And then when we got there, we're sitting waiting in the emergency. They're saying we're still waiting for him to come, and then they tell us that he's there, and then an hour later they tell us, honestly, the time frame is very difficult to tell, especially after 15 years, right? But I remember each moment that happened. I don't recall how much time in between passed by, but I remember each moment as happened. And yeah, so we're sitting waiting, me, my brother, my mom, my mom's best friend, and we're just sitting waiting there in this little waiting room. And then after a bit of time, somebody comes into the room and they give us like a bag, like a clear, not a clear, sorry, a white bag where you can't see anything inside, right? And I kind of take it from whoever brought it in, and I gave it to my brother. He looked inside, and then he looked over at me and he told me, "You look inside," and it's just like blood filled clothes, like the clothes that he wore to work that day, like like crazy crazy amount. Like we couldn't show it to my mom. Obviously, that's something that we didn't want to say to her. Like we just told her, "Oh, it's his clothes. That's all." We didn't tell her the shape that we're in or anything like that. And then after another little while, a nurse or ER, somebody comes in and they tell us, your father had a traumatic brain injury. He fell from a certain height, and we have to go do surgery on him almost immediately. We just need to, make sure that you guys agree with what we're going to do. Obviously, my mom is his next of kin and all that, and they explain to us pretty much what they're going to do. They have to, you know, cut out a part of his skull to relieve the pressure so that I can swell out and then it can go back in. And they're like, you can see him now before we take him in if you'd like. And so we went to go see him, and I couldn't recognize him. I could not. Like, I've never seen somebody's head that blown up, like swollen, essentially. So we pretty much just got to kind of just hold his hand and just tell him, try to talk to him. Can't tell if he can hear us or anything. To this day, I feel as though he squeezed back. Um, I don't. Maybe that was just in my head, but yeah. Then we got to they took him over to an elevator. They had to take him to the surgical room, and obviously we can't go into there. So they told us you can, either wait or go home and come back, and we'll let you guys know. And obviously, we don't know what the fuck is going on. We want to wait. We want to hear what's going on, how the surgery went, and obviously surgery went well. But they still were saying like, there's a, 20% chance or something that he even makes it to begin with, because his brain was severely damaged. He had broken his femur as well, I believe. Um, and he had orbital damage as well as a broken jaw. Um, so the first week or so was hard, right? They did the surgery. They had to do a couple of surgeries, replace a lot of things. He was in the critical care unit, intensive care, all that stuff. And then just slowly they just started letting him like recover, essentially, like as much as somebody could recover from something as devastating as that. And yeah, it was weird. It was so weird to go through something like that. I think it was the week before March break as well. So I didn't even have to go to school, essentially, because I was in 10th grade. I We would go every day after school, like after the March break as well, every day after school to go visit him at the hospital. And it was just a slow, long process, like very slow. Like, if you guys are squirmish, if you guys are, if some of this stuff kind of freaks you out, I apologize. I just want to be as straightforward and front and kind of paint the picture for you guys. But like, there's even points where they have to like a trachea. Essentially, they had to install a trachea into his neck so that he could breathe easier. Um, Once the the brain started going back from from the swelling, and this part of the skull was still out of his head. It was kind of like compressed. I'm not sure if anybody's ever seen something like that, but the brain has finally gone back to the normal size, but you see the skull outline where they haven't put the piece back in yet, and then eventually they put the piece back in after. But yeah, there was one time where he tried getting, like, again, very disoriented, on a lot of drugs, all that type of stuff. One in the hospital, one time he tried getting out of the bed, and he slipped and he fell and he shattered one of the bones in his hand because he just wanted to get out and just be normal again. But a lot of stuff got affected. His speech, mainly his speech, the part of his brain that got affected was his speech. So, like, when we hear him talk or attempt to talk, it's tough to make out what he's saying. But when he gets emotional, whether it's angry, sad, happy, you can hear the Punjabi in his voice come out because that's his native tongue. That was the first language he ever learned. And that's kind of what we can hear at times. But it's still tough to kind of make out. Luckily, as an Indian family, Italians can kind of attest to this as well. We're very gesture based, right? So like we can tell, like, you want to eat, you want to drink, or all that type of stuff. Like, it's easy to kind of communicate him with that, but it's still tough to have like a legitimate conversation because it's hard to kind of understand what he says. Partially paralyzed on the left side, I believe it is. Right side, right side. So pretty much it went back to having to get taken care of, right? Having to have somebody assist you for the rest of your life, essentially. And that's what my life has been over the last 15ish years. That's being there for my mom, helping her as much as possible, helping all of each other as a family, right? Even my wife, like she's very good with that type of stuff. Because some chicks, some women might not be comfortable around that type of stuff, right? But she is. She's very caring. She's very thoughtful. She wants to help kids with like disabilities and stuff. So this was kind of up her avenue after, like, obviously I met her after this had happened. But the shitty part, the thing that kind of hit me today the most, like obviously every anniversary, it hits you, and you just kind of get reminded of that day. Like the one thing I remember of that day, and then I'll go back to what my original thought was. It was around the time that 300 had come out. If you guys remember that movie with Gerard Butler, and I was going to ask my dad whether I can go to the theaters with my boys to watch that movie. And my mom and my dad always did the whole, good cop, bad cop thing all the time. They did it very well. And my mom said no. And she's like, wait for your dad to get home. And then he can tell you whether you can go or not. And then obviously I never got to find out. But that was one thing that I remember about that day. But in terms of like, obviously on the anniversary day, you remember everything that happened. It just comes flashing back to you essentially. But the one thing that hit me today specifically was not being able to talk to him as an adult. Because there's a lot of stuff that he struggled with as well, right? Working shitty jobs, working two jobs at times if you needed to. Another thing he kind of battled with was alcohol. Like I don't know if there's like any Indian guys in here, but um uh sorry, I'm trying not to look at the comments so I can just get through this. I appreciate you guys in here, honestly. um yeah, for anybody familiar with like the Indian culture, a lot of the older generation, like the people born in the 60s and the 50s, maybe even the 70s, when they come over to Canada and they have to go through all that hardship, a lot of them turn to alcohol and then turn into alcoholics. And that's something that my dad had struggled with on and off, right? Very tough. And I never really knew what alcohol truly did to a person when I was 15 years old, when I was 14 years old, when I'm 8 years old, kind of witnessing some of that stuff. But I wish now, knowing what I know about it, that I could have helped him and try to been more reasonable, you know. Um, just talk to him about adult shit, not can you get me a Harry Potter VHS, not can you give me a video game, like shit that all this stuff that he would do. Uh, and he'd like half the time he'd bust. He would I don't know. I think he had some sort of DUI in his past that has caused him or that forced him not to drive anymore. But he would bust everywhere. We drop him off when we could, but he was a hustler. He was like when he didn't have the pain of the alcoholism kind of taking over him, he would go out there and work again, a full-time job, a part-time job. He would grind. And I think I take a lot of that in what I do. I don't know if it's genetics. I don't know if it's just seeing what he had to go through to provide for us. Even my mom, right? Fuck, what a mom, right? Having to go through all that and then raise a 15-year-old and a 22-year-old in our most rebellious stages by herself, essentially. Obviously, we smartened up a lot. I lost touch with a couple of my high school friends that who initially, they were cool, they were down, they're like, how's your dad? How's all this? And then it just stopped because they're going out clubbing, they're going out having all this fun, whereas I got to be home and I got to watch out for my family, help out with my family as much as possible. Obviously, we found ways to make it easier for us to go and still live normal lives, right? We have a caretaker that comes every 3 times a week, just so that my father could, be looked after. He can't be left alone. No way. Um, but yeah, I think that's the thing that kind of I realized the most today is that I wish I was able to talk to him about that vice that alcohol had on his life at a certain time and all the other hard shit that he had to go through. I wanted to know like how he grew up and all that type of stuff, and I'm sure I'll be able to find out most of that from my mom. But to talk to him was is big for me. And now realizing that I've, lived as long as I have since the accident, before the accident, that's kind of the whole thing here. So yeah, um, this will always be a tough day. March 9th will always be a tough day in my life. Um, yeah, it would have been it would have been nice to talk to him. And the other thing would be driving, but I already had that realization when I got my driver's license. Because one thing he always wanted to do was teach me how to drive. I remember that, but he didn't get to. I remember getting my license, and one of the first things we did was I took him for a drive. That was pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, we try to involve him as much as stuff in things as we can, and he is a daily reminder of why I can't stop what I'm doing because I want to provide a lot for him and my parents and all that stuff. Well, again, I started this off by talking about Kanye and Donda, and I'm not sure if any of you guys saw the Kanye documentary on Netflix, but that last scene, or no, sorry, in the last episode where Kanye's performing "Hey Mama" for his mom, that's kind of uh, that really got to me. That did really fuck me up in a interesting way. You know what I mean? Like he knew how much his mom meant to him. He made the rap song and he's rapping it for her, and then she eventually passes away. And just yeah, that's why I want to be for my mom. Try to help her out as much as possible, especially given everything she had to take on by herself after the accident, dealing with the paperwork, dealing with all the bullshit. Yeah. So yeah, that was 15 years ago. Crazy how time flies. It honestly is so crazy. But I get to see him every day, which is something I'm happy about. Because there were some families that we met while we were in that hospital. We were in that hospital from March to August. Whereas that 5 months, 5 months nearly every day, we went to the hospital to be with him for as long as we could. They used to have a Swiss chalet in the cafeteria of that hospital, and we would eat dinner there most nights. But there were some families that we met there that don't have the benefit and luck of still being with their loved ones. I remember there was a family that came the night after we had gone there, and their father fell from a ladder, bonked his head, and he went to the hospital. They said, "Oh, he'll be okay. He's supposed to have a CAT scan. CAT scan gets pulled back because they think he's fine. They have the CAT scan 24 hours later. The guy has a blood clot, and he's going to die any hour." So that's a big, scary thing for somebody to have to go through at the same time that, excuse me, at the same time that me and my family's going through what we're going through. There's another one where this brother would come visit her sister who had gotten hit by a car. Apparently, she went to Tim Hortons, called him, said, "Oh, hey, I just grabbed my coffee. I'm just going to cross the road and I'll be back home in like 2 minutes." And then in between the time of her hanging up that call, crossing the road, she gets hit by a car and she doesn't make it. So there's a lot of shit. All in all, what I really want to say is just be grateful for some of the shit that you guys have, right? I know anybody, whenever they lose somebody or they go through something similar to what I went through, it's a cliche essentially, right? Don't take shit for granted. Hug your parents, hug your sibling, hug your daughter, hug your wife, whatever the fuck it is. You never know when shit's gonna, the world is gonna turn on its axis, and things are gonna be completely different for you. I've always wondered what my life would be like if that didn't happen, but this is the way things are. I've tried to make the best of what has happened, and I'm happy. You know what I mean? I've built this. I've built a following. Shout out to everybody out there. Um, and it's just a lot of it's something that a lot of people keep saying whenever they refer to me. I may not be the best handicapper. I may not be the best gambler. I may not be the best predictor, but I fucking work my ass off. With my channel, with the tape index, with the Patreon, with all the other shit that I'm involved with. I work my ass off. And I feel like I did learn that from him, which is, something that I'm glad that he instilled in me without even knowing it. You know what I mean? I think he just thought he's going out there and trying to make fucking $15 an hour to try to put food on the table, try to pay the rent, try to do this, try to do that. But what I took from it was that he did what he needed to do to provide, just as my mom did what she needed to do to provide. So the one thing that I kind of wanted to do, and I've had this idea for a couple months now, I wanted to come up with a way that I could create a legitimate fundraiser or a charity or, some sort of like event based around a charity every March, whether it's on the day of or whether it's the full month. But I want to start up some sort of benefit in his name, and I want to donate every year to the hospital that saved his life. But not to mention, it's one of the best traumatic brain injury research centers in Canada, hence why they took him there after his fall. People from hours and hours away get transported to this hospital if they have a traumatic brain injury, because that's where the best doctors are. That's where the best research is. That's where the best equipment is. And if I can continue, if I can help in some way for them to continue and improve their research, improve their equipment, improve the studying, I want to be a part of that. So if anybody has any ideas or connections, or are familiar with charities and fundraising and that type of stuff, please do let me know. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to do a GoFundMe. I mean, I want to do something where people can just plug in $5, $10. Again, whether I do it for the full month, whether I do it for a week or something like that, I try to get together a fund, a little amount, and then I give a check to that hospital every year in his name. Maybe even in your guys' name as well. Maybe I don't know, the Lock of the Night SHISHPAL fund or some shit like that. I don't know. I think I just want to keep it as his name. But I want to do that every year. So if anybody's familiar with that stuff, please let me know. Slide in my DMs and we'll try to work something out. So yeah, there you have it. I talked about it last year as well on the anniversary, but I don't think I did enough due diligence. I feel like I did it properly here. I might do this every year. You know what I mean? Again, it's nice to just talk about it, let the feelings flow, let it out. And I don't know if some of you are Indian as well, but that's one thing that's tough to do in an Indian household and an Indian family, is talk about shit. We're pretty good at just like shoving shit down our throat and just bottling it up and not letting it out. But the first several years was very tough for the family because we didn't really talk about it. We just acknowledged it. We cried together, we hugged, we gave each other a shoulder, but we never really talked about it. But today I talked about it with my mom pretty deeply, and we got a lot deeper than I ever got before. So it was interesting kind of hearing it from her perspective as well. So yeah, I truly appreciate you guys for the support, for hanging out. There's 40 of you guys. Crazy. Um, I'll just go through a couple of the comments right now, see what you guys are saying. But yeah, I just wanted to get that story out. Tell you guys that I wanted to do a fundraiser kind of thing. I was thinking of doing like a benefit type of stream where I do like a 6 hour stream and I try to get like my biggest contacts to come on for like 5-10 minutes to talk about, either a fight or something, some way, and then have like a super chat donation or some shit like that thing set up where I take super chats and I take all of the super chats and put it into a donation. But super chat, I feel like they take too much of a percentage to warrant doing it through that. So I want to figure out another way of doing it. But I might look into doing that. I mean, get some of the big guys I know, get the Helwanis, get the Nixics, get the Krauses, get those like bigger guys, and try to pull a bit of a crowd, and then push the donation slash benefit thing as well. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah. All right, let's go through the comments here, and then I'm going to get out of here. Didn't want to spend too long on this, but I just need to get it out. It's another way that I feel like I'm ahead of the game with some of these channels and some of the other personalities is just being me. I mean, giving you guys a glimpse into my life, trying to show you guys where I come from and things that I've been through, just to show you guys that like literally anybody could fucking do this. You just have to be determined and passionate enough and willing to invest in it, willing to put time into it, and willing to sacrifice time that you'll eventually get back once you're able to do this thing on a wider scale. And one of them is being genuine and authentic as fuck. And I feel like I'm both of those things here. All right, let's see what the chat is saying here. Evan now was saying, is it still snowing up there? Honestly, today was a really nice and sunny day that a lot of the snow pretty much melted. Still cold, like -20, sorry, -2, -3 degrees Celsius, which is what? Let me just quickly, I never know the fucking conversion. 26 Fahrenheit. 26 Fahrenheit is what it is right now up here in Toronto. Evil stuff saying powerful name. Yeah, it really is. It really is. I may, I'll see if I can convince my wife of this. I don't think it would be that hard. Make it my son or whatever, make it their middle name. I want to keep that name going on. Mr. Jingles in the chat. Cheers as well, brother. Appreciate you stopping by. Evan I was saying, Ranzi, when I was 9 and my parents were separated, my dad got a call that my mom was in the hospital, compound fractured her ankle, bone out of the skin. She was unconscious. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. MMA Triple J in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by, my guy. Maybe not the brightest of Locky late nights this time around, but needed to be done. LR saying this happened to Artie Lang's dad. Interesting. I know of Artie Lang. I didn't know his father went through something like that. I know former UFC fighter what's his name? Matt Grice. I think he had a traumatic brain injury as well. I think he recovered a lot better than my dad, but yeah, I remember that. Fucking Luke with the hot take. Robertson doesn't land on takedown. Hot take. You're the man, Luke. Eva still saying many femur fracture patients die in the hospital. It's a tough process, let alone the head injury. Yeah, that was crazy. Just seeing him like hooked up to everything, the wires and the IVs and the having his leg fucking pinned up and stuff. That was nuts. They put like a screw and like a legit nail through his knee. Like it's fucking nuts. Kairos, my brother, I appreciate it. Appreciate you really listening. Evan L saying, yep, why I still go see my mom on the regular. She has trouble walking from her ankle and needs so much help from day to day. Exactly. Those things are tough. Peachy saying, you're G for always replying to comments. I try, my man. I try. Robert Cello saying, at least he survived the accident. That is the silver lining. Like he is still around and he still shows positive emotion and like he still laughs and smiles and all that stuff. I wish it was more, but the fact that he's still living and seeing me get married and seeing me eventually have my kid, things like that, it's still nice. And I was saying this really makes me appreciate the weekly calls with my dad that I have so much more than I already do. Sorry you had to go through that. I appreciate you sharing this. Yeah, again, it's the conversations, those adult conversations that I wish I was still able to have with them. Yeah, I don't want to read too much of the. I know you guys aren't showing me pity. You guys are showing, the sympathy and stuff for what I gone through. So I don't want to continue to go through them and make this a pity part or anything like that. I appreciate you guys showing the love, showing the respect. I see all the comments. Thank you so much. Robert, new name, saying it's the same day Biggie Smalls passed away. Yes, I do recall that. Funny enough, well, not funny enough, but yeah, same day that Biggie passed away, and same. My mother's birthday is Tupac's anniversary of his death. So somehow I'm tied to the hip hop legacy here with my parents' big days. Evil stuff saying SHISHPAL is a strong. Funnily enough, not funnily enough, one of the first ever tattoos I got. I don't mind showing it off. This is my mom's name in Punjabi, and that's my dad's name in Punjabi. So I don't have many tattoos, but the ones I do are very family oriented. Mr. Jingle saying your passion for life honors your dad, your family, and his passion for his family. I appreciate it. Dad father saying 5 months in the hospital, man. I complained after a couple hours. Yeah, 5 months, and then 1 month he was at Toronto rehab. It was kind of like a inpatient facility, um, live in, and every day they would do like occupational therapy and just a bunch of stuff. But they gave us the opportunity to take him home for the first time since his accident, which was like almost 6 months. And they're like, you can go on a weekend pass, but then you got to bring him back. So we brought him home and he never went back. Like literally, we tried taking him back, and he was like holding on to the doors, like saying, "No, I don't want to go back. Don't take me back." Um, we eventually got him into the car, and even while in the car, he's trying to open the doors and not go back. So we explained to them, and then they eventually allowed us to have like outpatient care, right? So they would actually send somebody to our place to do the occupational therapy, to do his physiotherapy, all that type of stuff. So I'm just reading the comments here, seeing if there's anything that I should pop up. Honestly, I really do appreciate everybody showing the love and stuff. It really does mean a lot. Again, it's been 15 years. I mean, it's something that I've kind of come to accept and am comfortable with now. But the anniversary always brings up another date. Evan L saying we have quite a few charities in Florida. Again, it's something that I want to create. I want it to be my own and something that I do every year. Joe Rogan's forehead wrinkles. You think Mariah's round one KO has value? I don't know what the line is there, but it's always live with Mariah. Nigel D'Souza saying, thanks for sharing this, man. All the power to you with the fundraiser. Yeah, I'm looking for it eventually. Juice Better saying, most confident play this week. It's got to involve Maverick and Ank Alive somehow. Jimmy the Drunk Lock, what's your next show that you'll attend? I'm not 100% sure right now. Me and my wife got married almost 2 years ago now, but we haven't done any of the wedding festivities because of COVID. So we're planning that for June. So maybe end of this year at some point, I'll look to go to another event. Depinder Sing Hons Larak. Proud of you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Means a lot. Thanks, brother. Eric Axel Singh, it's a cool name. I think a lot of those Indian names are nice. Unfortunately, me and my girl are white as fuck, so naming my kid Churjot or Jagveen might be a bit out there. Uh, I don't think I've heard Churjot before, but yeah, it is a cool name. Jimmy Mataloni saying, appreciate you opening up about all sides of life. We're all humans at the end of the day, right? That's one thing that I've found most interesting. Like, especially when I went down to Vegas the last time back in August, I started conversations with the Uber drivers just to see like who they are, where they came from, what their story is essentially. And I feel like it's always interesting hearing somebody else's perspective of life and how they were growing up and what kind of hardships and stuff they had to go through. So I felt like sharing my story would kind of bring some, some humanizing to the MMA Lock of the Night character that you guys know, right? Because I keep forgetting the only thing you guys really get from me is like my videos and some of my tweets, but that doesn't. How could you guys know that that's something that I've been through in my life if I don't tell you guys, right? So yeah. Evan was saying, if we're talking fights, what's the dog? Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva will more than likely be the dog. Just waiting for the odds there. Anaconda Bets, appreciate you opening up to us, man. Sending love. Appreciate you as well, Anaconda. Make sure you guys show my guy Anaconda some love as well. That's a sharp motherfucker right there. Juice better saying it's not Yanal, it's Yanal Ashmosh. That guy's fighting on PFL next week, and he looks like my guy Jewish better. Glad to end this on a happy note and a smiling note. Again, appreciate you guys. I'll try to do some more of these Locky late nights, but I felt this was the one that I need to kind of spark the flame with again. Talk about it, show you guys, there's another side to just what you guys see on this camera on a week-to-week basis. A lot more that we go through on a day-to-day basis, things that we have as realities that others can't even fathom. So yeah, when I have my pound for pound discussion, I don't get too hung up on it when people fucking overreact in the comments section or whatever happens on Twitter, whatever beefs there are, whatever bullshit there is, it doesn't matter because as soon as I step outside of the studio, I have way realer shit to think about, to look after, to worry about. That's it. As soon as I step into the studio, I try to block that all out and I do my research, I do my tape study, I do my videos, I do everything. But once I step out that door, it's all back to normal. It's all back to reality. I don't care what a fucking person in my YouTube comment section thinks. I don't give a fuck what a troll on Twitter thinks. There's nothing that anybody can say that can fuck with me, my mentality, and how I'm enjoying life after everything that I've been through. And I hope that you guys can take something from that as well. Twitter is fake. This YouTube thing is fake. Like it's just entertainment at the end of the day. I'm trying to give you guys predictions. You guys, that's what you guys want to hear. But when we go back to our normal lives, going back to trying to put food on our table, going back to trying to put a roof over our head, all this stuff is almost unnecessary. Just enjoy your life. That's it. All right. I'm done. Again, appreciate you guys hopping by. Rest of my content tomorrow, I guess today now, exactly in 12 hours, I'll be live on this channel for propping you up with my guy John Stargarian to break down this card. Friday, I might as well announce it here. I haven't talked to I haven't told anybody who the guest is, but somebody that's going to be making their podcasting debut, if I'm not mistaken, Fimble Fight Picks. If you guys are around the Twitter sphere or around the Bet MMA sphere, you guys know that Fimble Fight Picks is one of the sharpest motherfuckers out there. He's going to be joining me to break down the fights on Friday. I've talked to him quite some time in the DMs. Very sharp dude. He's pretty much in first place in all the Lock of the Night and Dog of the Night challenges. The guy is just killing the game right now with his picks. So I'm sure you guys are going to want to hear his perspectives on this fight or these upcoming fights. So that's going to be on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. Eastern, IG live on the Instagram. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at MMALOTN. And then Saturday, Fight Day live chat, 1 p.m. Eastern, talking the fights one last time with you guys here in the chat. All right. Once again, appreciate everybody listening and hearing out my story. Hope you guys took something positive away from it. Maybe be a little bit more grateful for the things that you have. If you're in one of those moments of your life where you're just kind of walking through life and not really giving a shit about what's going on around you, be more grateful of it. Show it some more love. Tell the people you love them. That's about it. All right. Take it easy. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for propping you up.